again, YouTube, and welcome back to Just Get a Tesla. And this morning I'm taking Blind Pew to the Tesla service centre in Aberdeen to get its cameras fixed. For anyone who's already following the channel, and if you are, thanks very much, you'll already know that I've had this cameras issue for a little while, and it has come and gone. While I was away yesterday, they came back, so I had to leave home at just gone 4 in the morning yesterday, and as I pulled away, the cameras started recalibrating and I could see lines on the screen again, and then everything came back to life. And then at some point at around 4 AM today, they decided to stop working again. So it's booked in for a service. They're going to replace the front cameras module because they've remotely diagnosed that that is where the issue is, and we will see whether that fixes it or not. But what it means in the, for now is that none of the cameras are working. The headlights would be turned on if I hadn't manually turned them off again. There is no autopilot or anything like that. There is no safety awareness systems. It can't detect lines or other cars or anything, so I could wander in and out of the lane and it wouldn't warn me about it or even know that it was happening. Basically, the only thing that this car still has that works on it with regards to that are my ultrasonic sensors. So this works a September 2022 delivery, so it would have been built late summer. It still has the USS. If it didn't, then quite literally I would be completely blind driving this. Yes, Mark 1 eyeball can see out the window and all the rest of it, but there'd be no parking sensors, no sensors of any kind, no cameras, nothing. So it'll be interesting to see whether this really is the issue. That's what remote diagnostics have determined. Okay, let's give it a whirl and we'll see what happens. There is of course another thing to note about Tesla and servicing, which is it doesn't need servicing. So unlike every other car brand that I can think of, this does not require a 12-month or X number of thousand miles / kilometers service. And on an EV, that service quite often is literally kick the tires and change the washer fluid. It's an absolute rip-off from legacy car manufacturers. Tesla doesn't have that. It's service as required, which for an EV is a lot more sensible. It strikes me as the better approach because they can remotely diagnose when there's an issue and it will come up on the screen and tell you to book a service. Now, I don't know about you, but I'm fed up with being ripped off by big car dealerships with servicing. I've had quite a lot of cars over the years, good cars, okay cars, family cars, really posh cars, and the servicing costs with some of them are lunatic. I remember my 5 Series BMW and sitting there in the dealership on their plush leather sofas drinking their very nice coffee and thinking, I'm paying for all of this. This isn't something that they're providing as a service, this is what they are charging me for, or whether I like it or not. Tesla has a completely different business model, which is they're selling you the car, they're not making money from servicing. But they still do have service centers, as we're about to go to. So I have been into this Tesla center for test drives. So I test drove a Model 3 and a Model Y from here. So I know where it is, and obviously there are superchargers, but the instructions for the service are park it in the customer bays to the right of the building, it says, and then it's literally drop and go. So I don't need to leave a key card. I don't need to even say anything to anybody. It's quite literally drop the car there, and then I assume that they have got some kind of remote access that they can do onto somebody's car for service if it's within their property. Either way, we're going to find out. It's all very high tech, but of course it's Tesla, so it's going to be high tech. That's the whole point. Service drop off. Okay. Service drop off. Oh, hang on. Are these parking spaces over here? Aha, vehicle drop off and collection. Right, so we'll shunt it back into one of them. Having to be careful of the swing because, of course, blind Pew is blind. Yeah, you overcooked that a little bit, but that's okay. And then, you see, I've still got ultrasonic sensors, which means I know where the fence is behind me. If I didn't have ultrasonic sensors, that'd be awkward. Right, we're here. And with that, I'm basically going to leave it here and walk around to Starbucks because, well, who doesn't need coffee at this time of the morning? It's a hard life. I'm now sitting in Starbucks waiting for the car to have its eyes fixed. 2 hours in, and I've just had a call from one of the technicians, and it would appear that blind Pew is still blind, but at least we're getting to the bottom of why. And I've switched to my phone camera because my GoPro is being an arse again, but blind Pew here is still blind because it's not the cameras. And I kind of thought that was going to be the case, considering that they go off, then on, then off, then on, then off. Last night they went off again. The night before, abruptly, they came back on. So we had the update to software 2023.26.9, I think, and it didn't fix them. And then an overnight, and then abruptly, I get in the car, it starts calibrating the cameras, and suddenly everything's working again. So that was at 4 AM because I had to be up early. And then overnight last night, so 24 hours on, in the middle of the night, it kills them again. That's not hardware. Except that actually it is, because here's the news. Blind Pew is blind because its brain isn't working. I had some GPS issues a little while back. So if you look back onto the video that I'm going to stick a link to in the corner, I'm driving into Liverpool and mapping goes off. And that happened quite a few times, and has happened on and off occasionally, where it's not the phone signal because the car is still picking up Spotify, it's GPS and mapping. Apparently that all comes through the same bit of the car's brain. So what they're going to do is give me a new brain. So I'm waiting basically now for another appointment to come back in and to leave the car for a few days while they replace the computer. They'll need to give me a loaner. I am asking them for something a little bit more interesting, like that Model S. I know it's an old one, but I've never driven a Model S. They did have a 2023 left-hand drive one. Sadly, it went down to Glasgow yesterday, so I can't have that one, but whatever. Let's drive an old one. It's 100D, so I mean, it'll be fruity. And if they can't get that, I'll ask for a performance something. Either way, let's have a bit of fun. The good news is, for you guys, that's not going to be next week. That's going to be in about 2 minutes' time, because I'm going to cut now by doing this. Actually, no. We're not going to cut straight to that, because we need to talk about my brain hurts here. And that's basically where we're at. Not blind Pew, but my brain hurts, because this car basically has a computer that's not working properly. And considering that it's a rolling computer, that's a bit of a problem. Before we talk about why it's a problem, actually, just a little request, which is, if you are going to just get a Tesla and you've been inspired by this channel and these videos, then please use my referral code, which is at the bottom there, because you are going to get not only money off your car, but I will then also get referral points, which I can use to pay for features which I get to test. So one of the big things that I am waiting to do is enhanced autopilot. The problem is, of course, you need cameras to be able to do enhanced autopilot, and my brain hurts here doesn't have any cameras. And this is just the annoying thing about this. It has been getting progressively worse over time. So initially we had that odd GPS bug where basically the map would just completely lose the ability to be able to pick up where it is, which when you've got the actual satellite view on your map, because you're paying for premium connectivity, it really does look odd when it just goes completely black and the only thing that you can see is the line showing where you're going. And of course, if you haven't plotted navigation, you got nothing at all. So that came and went quite a few times, and initially there were people talking about it's just a software bug and they'll do a bugs update and they'll fix it. No, that isn't the issue. So what the technician has said is basically that the inputs into the main CPU go in different bundles, and apparently cameras and GPS are going into the same bit. So we have got a progressive issue with the cameras not working, and okay, they have come back a couple of times and then gone off again and then come back and then gone and come back again and then gone again. As has GPS. So the fact that they're both on the fritz does suggest to him that this is now a computer issue rather than software, rather than the actual cameras themselves. Because at one point they were going to replace the front camera module, but he's run some extensive diagnostics and said there's no point in doing that because the thing is working. It's the computer which is taking the inputs that isn't working. And this is a Tesla. Every single thing on it is run through the screen. Now, there are multiple different levels of computer. So if I was to do a 2-button press and hold reset, that makes the screen go blank and then the logo comes back on again and we go into reboot mode. That isn't what this is about. That is just the front part. This is about the back part where all of the different systems and things all come together. And what they're saying is basically that it's kaput. So if I go on to cameras, as you can see, you get a nice reflection of me holding the camera, but you don't actually get any cameras. Now, that has come and gone at various points, but here and now, no, it really isn't having it at all, which is a pity because the app has got this exciting new multi-camera view. So you should be able to see 4 cameras or so in one view, which of course I can't do because none of my cameras are working. And I've just realized I've passed my hand in front of the camera a few times, and that's probably annoying, but it doesn't matter because this screen is basically redundant at the moment. So we should have a quick conversation about my experience so far with Tesla service, and honestly, it's been pretty good. So I've got a progressive issue with this car, and they were able to do a fair chunk of the diagnosis remotely over the air. They pushed a couple of software flashes out over the air, which haven't solved it, but at least they're able to do that. And then I got a booking to go in, which I could go into the app and amend and tweak and do whatever else I want to. They send you updates over the app in terms of what's actually going on. It's far, far, far better than I experienced when I had a big Volvo S90, which was suffering from electrical gremlins, shall we say. And that had to keep going back into the main dealers for them to plug their laptop into it to even try and understand what it was. Then they'd say, ooh, we need to speak to Volvo UK before we can get authorization. So you'd have to go away again and then come back again and then go away again and then come back again. It was faff. And it's not as if other car companies don't have faults. There's plenty of them. So I don't see the fact that my car needs a new brain as being particularly an issue, because here's the thing, Tesla don't make the computer, right? They've bought that bit in and it's basically had enough. So that's no different to the phone that I'm recording this clip on deciding that it's had enough. And at the moment, I'm having issues with this handset getting itself very, very hot and bothered and burning lots of battery for no particular reason. I've had computers where you've had variations of either the black screen of death or even the blue screen of death. I've had hard drives that have basically exploded. You know, computer gubbins break. It's not Tesla's fault. Anyway, we're going to have to wait a little bit because they've told me that basically next week, although you're not watching this next week, you'll be watching this kind of afterwards. Sorry. But next week, on my time at least, they're going to pull me back in. I'm going to have a loaner for a couple of days. I've asked them for something fruity because why on earth not? And I'm going to do some videos on that as well. So don't forget to like and subscribe and hit the bell icon. I've already asked you to use my referral code if you are going to just get a Tesla. I really appreciate all of the support. I recently went through 2,000 subscribers, which again it's great that so many of you actually are getting so much out of these videos. I really appreciate the comments. I really appreciate the feedback, guys. So keep that one going. And I will see you very soon back here in My Brain Hurts on Just Get a Tesla.